It's great to meet you. I'm having 1985 flashbacks to.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm wondering where the rugby shirt is. If you still have it from the
Yeah,
video.
I wish I did, in fact. That's probably one of the only items I don't have. But yeah, I don't know where that somebody nicked it, I'm sure.
You've had quite a career, nominated for a Grammy for Best New Artist. You won an MTV Video Music Award for Best New Artist in Video back in those days. You've written
Right.
children's books. You've
Yeah.
produced documentaries.
Yeah.
You are a photographer, not this kind, because this is not a photographer.
Indeed. Indeed.
And you've got a great nonprofit called the White Feather Foundation, which I'm really curious to hear more about that. And of
Sure.
course, produced 7 albums.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like enough, really. But hey,
Yeah.
things take time.
Yeah. It's been remarkable. I'm wondering do you think it would have been possible to not have had a career in music? I mean, you do have all these other gifts, but was there an immediate pull to music?
No. In fact, I loved acting in school initially, and I also loved cooking.
Oh,
So I was keen to be a chef, believe it or not.
wow.
Um, it was actually my friend, my dear friend and co-producer on this album, Justin Clayton, that started playing at school and started having lessons at school in between classes.
Yeah.
And I was curious about that. So I said, well, what's it all about? So I went along, um, enjoyed it. And then at the end of that year, we'd actually formed a band, and at the end of the school year, they would always have some kind of performances, whether that was plays and
Yeah.
art projects and you name it. And I think we were the first ones ever in school to have a band per se, and so put on a show. But it was all the old rock and roll stuff, roll over Beethoven, roll over, excuse me,
Yeah.
roll over Beethoven, Kansas City, a number of other. I think we did about 5 or 10 songs. But uh, once you'd been on stage with the guitar and you got that response,
Yeah.
back from the girls in the audience
Yeah.
after singing and playing guitar, being a rock star for 3.5 minutes, you just went, "Nah, that's what I want to do." So
Yeah.
that really was the change. It was really that simple and that quick at that point in time. Listen, what teenage boy who's healthy boy doesn't want to be embraced by
Right.
lots of lovely young girls?
So
So
was there not any kind of sense of feeling on your part, either expectations from others or from the world that you were going to produce music? Was that there or
no,
no?
I think my mum Cynthia was worried about it
Yeah.
initially,
Yeah.
very fearful, I'm sure. No, she's actually said that there were times, especially in the early days, that she was very concerned. But after seeing me perform at in LA at Universal Amphitheater, it was,
Yeah.
um, she had absolute faith in, and she stated quite clearly on record that that I'd finally come of age and I'd become a man at that point. So I was like, but that was the only trepidation, really. I knew that I was going to be faced with a few questions here and there, but I was a young kid, so
Yeah.
it didn't really soak in that it was going to be an issue. I just wanted to be a musician, and that was that. If you look at today's world of how children of successful stars are being treated, it's a completely different ball game. So I felt very much. Uh, I won't say a pioneer because that wouldn't be quite right, but I'm certainly one of the first uh, that got the crap kicked out of me on so many levels.
Yeah.
For being a musician of a famous artist. So,
Right.
uh, it became a tougher path as time went on. But I worked my way through it in my own time, uh, and I think people have seen that I've never abused the situation or the relationship. I've always um, showed great integrity on that front. It was certainly not something I wanted to be seen as abusing. I certainly didn't want that. So, yeah. So, but I'm still here. So,
Yeah, you're still
uh,
kicking.
I'm still alive and kicking. But I think, as you mentioned before, with all the other um, mediums that I work in, that was a very, very important break for me. After 30 years of being in the business, and especially moving over to the sort of independent world, it was a tough world. I mean, I still, I was able to have full control of the albums and put as much heart and love in them, but getting them played or heard was a very, very difficult thing.
Mm.
And after, again, 30 years of being in the industry and dealing with that and literally having the album shelved in many respects, I just kind of had enough. So I was thinking, well, okay, listen, if I take music out of the equation, what am I left with?
Mm.
And at that point in time, there was nothing.
That's a
So
scary
that
thought, I bet.
very much so. So, and I'd seen other people going through similar situations, and I thought, okay, well, what would I like to do? What do I have passion for? What can I actually achieve? Where can I go with this? And so from the White Feather Foundation, the photography came into play. I'd always had interest in the in on the documentary side of things because I think most of the mediums that I'm in are storytelling mediums.
Right.
And it's all about trying to fix the problems that we have, but not by shoving ideas down people's throats. It's about starting the conversation of, being a more positive person with finding balance and peace in life. And that's throughout, whether it's the documentaries or the photography, or the children's books. It's about being a messenger of sorts. It's
Yeah.
about relaying stories. And I loved doing that, and I liked being behind the scenes very, very much. So, even so I felt that after laying a good foundation and being pretty successful on those
Yep.
levels, that that I could come back to music with a completely different attitude, where it wasn't carefree, but I certainly wasn't concerned about what other people were going to think after after laying the other foundation. So. And it was very mysterious how it all came about, because I had said pretty much to myself that I thought the last album, Everything Changes, was it. I didn't feel like doing so much work on something that I believed in so much to have things shelved. And I thought, and I was watching the world, and obviously the way things are musically these days, and I just thought, singles and EPs are a much easier approach. There's not so much pressure
Yeah.
doing it that way. The main focus on how this came together was partly due to the pandemic and certain turns of events, but I still want to go back to all the other stuff that I love. And so I think probably, looking down the road, that's the approach that I probably would take, is EPs and singles in the future, to allow me the time to do everything else. Because, once I get wrapped up in an album project, it's years. It's,
Right.
that's where I am.
And
But,
the distribution's very different too. I mean, in the 80s, you were probably relying on a label to distribute your music, or you were pounding streets. Now you can create something and you literally could just put it out there yourself if you wanted to.
yeah, no, absolutely. But I still think, I felt that, if I was going to do this, I needed the support to get this out there. And after not having done something for 11 years, I thought, if there's any chance of this being seen or heard again, um, then it has to be with working with someone. And the whole BMG thing, which is at present just for this album, you know, the whole how this came about was literally the head of BMG had met two friends of mine on the opposite sides of the planet. Um, and Hartwig, Masushi is his name, the head of BMG, and my name came up. I don't know how that happened,
Hmm.
but he had said to both of my friends, one was in Russia and one was in America, over the course of 6 months to a year. I can't remember exactly, and he just said, "Listen, if Jules ever wants to do an album again, please ask him to get in touch with me." Anyway, this kept playing in the back of my mind, and I knew, I believe, yeah, I knew BMG was in Berlin, based in Berlin, and I was working with Leica cameras at that, doing exhibitions in their galleries around the world, and I remember that they'd invited me to an award show in Berlin, and so I thought, oh, that guy Hartwig, let me just check him out. I found him on social media. I just messaged him and said, "Hi, I'm in Berlin for 24 hours. Got time for lunch?" And honestly, I didn't think he was going to respond, especially on the social media
Yeah.
messaging. And lo and behold, he writes back to me. He said, "Love to." We sat down, spent a few hours together having lunch. I liked him a lot. I liked his passion. I liked his involvement in the backstory, and that was part of how he works with people. And certainly, I have a backstory, that's for sure. And he believed in me, and he thought I'd got a rotten deal in the past, so uh, he wanted me to have a chance to be seen and heard properly.
Yeah.
And so we're in the midst of the promo tour from hell now. So, I've been at it for a few months, and let me tell you, after not having done this kind of stuff and living
Yeah.
very much behind the scenes, the idea of coming back on camera and doing all this stuff again, I'm going, really? Do I really want to do that? But for the sake of the album and the longevity of the work and the music, absolutely, it's a necessary evil. Not always an evil, but
Yeah.
there are times you wish you were somewhere else.
Well, you should take a victory lap too, because it's very good. There are some great songs on there. And I really like the single Lucky Ones. I think it's a terrific song.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was very much a last minute. I had the majority of the album together, and I just felt that I was missing something a little more punchy.
Yeah.
And I it came together. I'd been playing the same four chords that's in the chorus of that song for 30 years, but never was I able to come up with a melody, and I don't know why. And then a friend was working, another songwriter was working on another project, and we got together and we were playing things back and forth. And then picks up the guitar and starts playing my four chords, and and I said, "What's that?" He said, "Oh, it's just something I'm working on." I said, "But those are the same four chords I've been trying to find a song with for 30 years." And he said, "Well, I put a demo. Here's there's some melody, a bit of a melody here." And I listened to it. I said, "What are you doing with that?" He said, "Well," he said, "Nothing. You do, it's yours." And I went, "Well, it's not mine, but you know."
Yeah.
I said, "Let me work on it." And one thing led to another. Lucky Ones emerged, and it sat beautifully within the rest of the album. Um, and again, it's taken the tone of being hopeful and being appreciating what we have, and that's the what it's all about. The basis of the song and the story is just appreciate what you got. We are lucky to be alive, regardless. I mean, it's amazing we're still alive, to be honest with you, with our habits as humans.
True.
Anyway, onwards and upwards.
Well, it's been great to chat with you. The new album, Jude, is officially out. Everybody can go check it out and listen to it. Of course, the new single, Lucky Ones, playing on that station. Julian Lennon, a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Cheers.